Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be doing the realistic product development. So I'm going to zoom in on my screen a little bit. I did a Twitter poll here. Let me see if I can grab that link, copy link to original. Here it is. And we did a vote to see what would win. What features did people want to see? Let me zoom in a bit. Here we go. And social network won by a slither. So that's what we're going to do. So I've posted this up on SuggestGG for any features that you might want to see. So please feel free to go to this link and suggest some features. I did ask on Twitter for some features as well. So asked on X for some features. See where it was. Where was it? Where was it? Where was it? Where was it? Here it is. I had 2 people reply, push notifications, profiles, posts, media, connections, groups, likes, dislikes, comments. We've got some feature requests, right? I've got a Notion document, which will allow me to go do stuff. Let's see if I can copy. No. Copy link to block. Undo that, whatever I did there. I don't even know what I did there. And we are going to be planning this. So we've got realistic product development. We're going to be planning and understanding all of this now. So let's zoom in on some of this and see what we're going to do. So we're building a social network. What is that going to look like? What is that going to be? Your guess right now is probably as good as mine. So if we think about a social network, what we usually have is we have, I don't like that line style, Oh, no, that one. No sloppiness. There we go. I don't like sloppy stuff. We're going to have, obviously, some form of back end. Oh my God, what is going on with this? Here we go. We'll have a back end service, which will store everything. It will do all the good stuff. Then what it will also do is have some form of front end so that people can interact with it. And likelihood is it would have something like an admin panel so that administrators can actually manage it and do all of that stuff. Alan! Sorry. So there's a lot of things going on that could happen. I did do another Twitter poll to see what people wanted to see technology-wise. It was voted Livewire. So what we're going to do is we're going to build the admin using Livewire, but we won't use Filament for this. Filament would be perfect for this, but we're not going to use Filament. Coffee break. So this will be tool stack. This will be something not decided yet. We can let you decide that. And the back end, it's obviously going to be Laravel based. This could be a Laravel API. It could just be kind of Laravel connecting to the admin database or the database in general. Yet to be decided. If you've got ideas, drop them in the comments. Love to hear them. Let's get these thoughts going, right? So back to my Notion document. We've got this, we've got that, we've got a bit of this and that. Hey, Ludovic, and hey, Aline, if you are watching. So I assumed that the social network was going to win. It was leading the charge. So I've given it a name. It's called Pulsara, and it is a new universe of social connectivity. And here's a link. So here's a link, a logo. Let's see, what can we do to zoom in on this? Zoom, damn it. Isn't zooming, sorry. So here's a logo. It's a cool little logo that I used ChatGPT and DALL-E for. Looks pretty cool. It's like a star and connecting dots and other stars to different connectivity stuff. I don't know. And here are some of the features that have been requested or I have thought of. We've got profiles, posts, media, connections, groups, likes, dislikes, comments, push notifications, enhancing those privacy controls, AI-powered content moderation, which would be kind of cool, kind of feed things through something like ChatGPT or something similar and say, right, cool. Part of the kind of the post creation process is to pass things through AI and say, here's a specific command. Does it kind of go against the community rules of, X, Y, Z, whatever that might be? It's going to have markdown support for all posts, because it's, why wouldn't it, right? Customizable feed algorithm. So like I want to be able to fine tune what's important to me on my feed. If I'm seeing a news feed of everyone that I follow or all of my connections and all that sort of stuff, then I want to be able to kind of fine tune that. Say, okay, what's more important to me is this. Build out some sort of weighing algorithm so that you can fine tune it, save it as settings, and that is then injected into the query to order it when it's coming out. And then obviously community building tools, because what social platform is a social platform without community building? And it's kind of at the heart of social, right? So that is the rundown of what the social network will be so far. Got a couple of cool resources. So found some really cool code course content, like chunking large uploads in Livewire, building a drag and drop uploader with Livewire, reactive real-time applications with Livewire, and a comment system with Livewire. So you're probably getting a theme here that I'm thinking Livewire would be really cool for this. Which means that these sections here could all be one monolith. We don't have to build lots of different services, because why scale until you've got a problem, right? It's a good problem to have. So realistically, it'll be myself using this. So I don't think there's going to be a problem with scale here. Will I be using Firebase for push notifications? I haven't decided yet. If anything, I'm probably going to use, I think is it Superbase? Yeah, probably something like Superbase. It's open source. I mean, the idea of this is that all of it's going to be open sourced at the end of it. So you can kind of fiddle with it, play with it, clone it, use it, whatever you might want to do with it. So giving you something that's kind of licensed in the middle just doesn't make sense. Doesn't sit with that open source ethos that I like to follow. So realistically, all of these are probably going to be the same application. So what we're going to do, that is the monolith. And we're just going to send that to the back. And we're going to give it a blue color. No, a blue color. There we go. So then this back end here, send to back. Cool. Then this background, I'm just going to give that yellow, and this yellow as well. There we go. So let me zoom in. Sorry, I realize it's probably a little bit zoomed out for some people. So we're going to have a back end, a front end, and an admin. All of that stuff's kind of pretty good. All the stuff we'd want to see. And let's just kind of make this stand out a little bit better. And there we go. So Superbase doesn't have push notifications. Okay, so what we could probably do there is it Mercure? Here we go. We use something like Mercure Rocks. There's a Docker version, it's free and open source, and it will work the same way as something like Firebase. So Firebase is fine, but the biggest problem that I've got with Firebase is that it is a Google product that is paid for, and it just doesn't work for what I want it to do. So enough chatting. Let's dive into some ideation stuff. Has anyone posted any ideas, or is it just what we're going with so far? All good so far. So I've got my Laravel application. This one is just using Blade and Breeze because I'm going to refactor a lot of the Blade stuff to Livewire a little bit later. And we've got MailPit set up so that we can kind of capture emails. Quite important. We've got Mailysearch because Mailysearch is kind of important when it comes to social, right? Searching for stuff and finding stuff. We've got Minio setup, which is the object storage. Again, completely free. Identity stuff. Ooh, there's a lot of cool stuff in this. I've not actually looked at it. Obviously, we've got a lot of cool stuff going on. So back end, front end, and admin, all of that is going to use Livewire. It's going to be monolithic. So we're going to have like this kind of idea of each one of these is going to talk to its database, and it's going to do some stuff. Now, the likelihood is the front end and back end is going to be connected, but we will have an API. That API might lead into some fun mobile development later down the line. Who knows? So where do we go? Where do we start? I've not planned any of this. If I come back to here, I've got the plan, project plan. We've got systems, features, and tasks. So in systems, we're going to have an admin system in PHP using Laravel. We are going to have a user system using PHP and Laravel. That is like the two main systems that we've got going on. Eventually, there might be mobile, that sort of stuff, but we'll get around to that. Features. So let me just kind of delete some of this default stuff that happens. Delete. Let's delete some of this, and let's go modify those properties quickly. So properties, we are going to add a relation property for this, and we want it to be based on features, add the relationship. So the related feature, and we are going to add another relation for the system that it belongs to. So we're going to have something like authentication, related features. Okay, not that one. So system-wise, it's going to be both admin and user. Let me just zoom that out a bit and maybe zoom that a bit. There we go. So we're going to want to authenticate. Sorry, I can't zoom in on this. For this section here, I'm just going to quickly zoom in on my display and hope for the best. Hopefully that is a little bit better. So authentication, we're going to have profiles. This is going to be on both admin and user. So authentication profiles, we're going to have a feed, which is going to be on both admin and user. Not admin, actually. So let's just kind of remove that. That's... I just... sorry, my microphone's in the way. There we go. Feed is based on the user system. We're going to have a feed settings, which is related to feed, and that is going to be on that user system itself. So I think we've got a good place to start, right? So let's go to our editor. We've got Minio, we've got all the good stuff. I'm just going to zoom. Actually, is that zoom level okay for people? Let me know in the chat. Right. So let's just pull Sarah. And what did I say it was called? Something to do with something. There you go. A new universe of social connectivity. Forum style message board would be cool. Yeah, I completely agree. Drop it on that link above. Again, I'll show it on the screen. suggest.gg/juststeveking/build a social network 16197. So drop any ideas on there. I will be coming back to it. Want to make sure, I'm building something that people want to see. So the first thing that I like to do in any kind of Laravel project is come down to this editor config and make sure it's set up the way that I like it. So we've got JSON, JS, and CSS. So let's just kind of do that. Then we can quickly just reformat that file. And we will be using 8.3, which might mean we can't use filament just yet. Hey, JS, how you doing, buddy? What we also want to add is we want to add the Rove security advisories, dev latest. So now that we've done that, we want to do a quick composer update. Once that has done its magic, I can then bump the dependencies and update again. What I also need to make sure that I do is this needs to be an 8.3, otherwise we will get errors. So we are going to sail down and sail up -D. There we go. Everything is back up and running on PHP 8.3, which is great. Let's just fill out some information. Just Steve King. Look, Sarah. So github.new. This is something I found out you can do the other day. If you go to https://github.new, it just takes you straight to this page. It's kind of cool. It's similar to like the pen.new for CodePen. This is going to be a public repo. Get that started. And let's just get everything kind of up and ready for people to view should they want to. So git add, everything, git commit. We're going to say that starting project with Laravel Breeze and Blade. I mean, I probably could just like copy, push that sort of stuff. Push it up. And this should now be there. Fantastic. If you need this, I'm going to drop the link in the chats. And there we go. You now should have access to it. If you want to code along, play along, clone it, do your own thing, drop pull requests, entirely up to you. It's realistic product development, people. It's not always one person building a product. So the first thing I like to do is, especially if it's a project I'm going to work on for a while. Oh, yes, vendor publish. Nope. A stubs publish, is it? I can never remember the name. Stub publish. There we go. Got the stubs. Let's add all of those to get. So we now got our stubs. What I like to do is go through and just make sure these are the way I like them, because there's nothing worse than having to do on every single file all the time. Now, I don't use many casts, so I can delete that one. Console, I do create console commands quite often, so I can go through and modify this. Can just kind of delete some of this boilerplate that I don't actually use. This will return an integer, and that will return command 3. Success. So that is now ready to go. API, model, nested, plain, singleton, and empty, can go. I use invocable controllers for all of my kind of web stuff, because that's just how I do it. I never extend the controller, so I can remove that. And we can make this a final class, and we'll just remove that as well. I'm not going to add a return type because that is going to vary. Now, an event, I do use events, and I'm likely to use events in an application like this. I'm just going to get that off my screen now. Larastan, but the package dependency check. I don't use Larastan anymore, actually. I use mostly just PHP stand by default. I don't think Larastan adds too much benefit anymore. It used to, but nowadays PHP stand just works for Laravel. Copilot. I don't use Copilot. I probably should. Do we have channel imported? Yes, we do. So we can just kind of drop that back like that, and that is all good. I like to keep things like this in doc blocks because it's important. I just find it's quite useful. Right, so I can now, did I put it in? Yes, I did. So let's just kind of close all of that. Factory, I always use factories. Like every model has a factory. It's just how I roll. Actually, let me put that back a minute because I'm going to want it in a minute, I think. Final. Now, I don't do the array there because it's just pointless. So we have a protected model property here, and that is usually something like that, which means that we have to use name spaced model. Now we can kill that, and that would be the factory that I would usually use. Job queued, always use queued jobs. Any writing is usually done in the background because it just makes things cleaner and easier. We could change that, maybe, see what happens. I've got a really cool idea to use something like echo tone for some event-driven message bus stuff, but let me know if you want to see something like that, because I think that could be quite fun and interesting. Hey, Nassim, how are you? All right, let's just drop this down here and let's delete some stuff. Execute the job. Okay. So I don't want to bore you with all of this. I'm going to go focus on like the main ones that we're going to use for this, because otherwise you're just going to be watching me modify stubs for an hour, and that might be a little bit boring. So we can remove that. We can remove that. We can make this a static function, and we will be returning nothing. So let's give ourselves some breathing room there. And this will be a ULID, which is an ID, and is a primary key. There we go. So I like to use ULIDs. No real reason why, just what I do. Right, now our model, we can copy that in, make this a final class. Before we do that, we're going to come over to the user and we're just going to add it in here. So we're just going to say use has ULIDs. So I can copy this part over to the model add it there. There we go. And we can say use has ULIDs, then protected billable. You thought I was going to say guarded then, didn't you? Protected casts. Oh, I can't remember what the other one's called now. Production ready command in where you create a dist directory and all the files that you need. Yeah, would be kind of cool. Right, so that is that. What I also like to do, I'm going to do it over here first. Always do it somewhere you've got type completion. So we can say property string for the ID and property null carbon interface for the created at and property null carbon interface for the updated at. So this will be on all models. So we want to be able to grab that carbon interface up the top. And there we go. That is like our default model. We're going to have fillable stuff, casts. We're going to use ULIDs, and we're going to kind of put out those doc blocks so it's a little bit clean and nice to use. Other than that, I'm going to use factories, migrations, and for this, that is probably it. So let's go through and delete the ones we won't want. Observers I don't use. Request resource. I don't use resource collections. I don't build my own scopes. And I write my own tests. So let's just delete all of those as well. So there we go. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just add this to version control, git commit, updating default stubs to get started. Let's just push that up. So now that we've got that stuff started, what we want to do is have a look at the user model that we get by default, because it's never nice, never as nice as I'd like it. So remove some of those doc blocks that aren't needed. We can then declare that static and Laravel paint the whole file, which I like to do. So ULID, we want an ID and we want to make that primary. Then the timestamps down here, we can move that email verified at all the way down here. And I like to make the users soft deleted, because what it allows me to do is add the prunable trait, and then it gives a grace period on deleting. So you say delete my account, within 30 days it is deleted. In case you accidentally click it, you're like, oh no, got to email, I accidentally deleted it. It gives that grace period. So it's quite nice. Name, email, password. See, I like to use first name and last name personally, just because it's a bit more kind of personable, right? So what could anybody watching, do you think I should do social authentication? It's a new social network, which, you know, it's probably aimed at developers because it's markdown and that sort of cool stuff. Would you want to see, I don't know, log in with GitHub as an option? I mean, a lot of people know how to do this, that sort of stuff, but would it be a feature you want to see? One person saying yes. Steve is the most community-oriented. Oh, thanks, Ludwig. Very kind. Log in with GitHub. Perfect. So that means we need to make this nullable by default. What we then have is we got a few things that we need to get. Socialite. Yeah, I completely agree. Something like Socialite is super important. So we're going to have something like string provider We're going to add a default for that in a minute. Table string, so provider ID, and we will add the access token that we get back in case we want to do some sort of fun API stuff. That's nullable, that's nullable. So what we want to do is come up to app. We're going to create a couple of new things. We're going to create enums identity to start with. And we're going to have a provider enum. So we'll have an enum for the email provider, which will be our default. Then we'll have a GitHub. And I'm going to leave it at that to start with. So this provider will be provider email value. Simplify that. Ooh. Don't know what happened there. Oh, come on, keyboard. Do your stuff. There we go. So we got that default provider, which is going to be email, which is nice. Why we got an error? We got an error. Why we got an error? Oh, wait. That. There we go. Silly Steve. Right. Okay. What we also going to want is a role. So again, this will be a string back to enum case user case moderator, and we'll go case admin. There we go. We've got those. So we're also going to then say table string role default role user value. So I like to use enums because I can. There we go. So we got a role, we got a provider, but what else might we want to do? I think that's it for in terms of kind of enums for now, but that's our basic user table right there. We've got first name, last name, email, password, role, provider, provider ID, access token, remember token, email verifier, timestamps, and a soft delete. It works. What I have to do though is come through and clean these up. They're never kind of at the level that I like them to be. And because I use ULIDs, I've got to come through and change a couple of things anyway. So let's just declare that. And what I think would be quite cool is with a social auth, adding an optional password maybe. Could be useful, could be cool. You know, just stops people from being able to jump on your computer, click login with GitHub because you're already logged in, and oh, now we've got access. Right now, make this static and clean that whole file, and this needs to be a ULID morph. And there we go. That is all of those database stuffs done. We'll keep users open as we come over to the user factory to modify it. So put users over here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit on this one, just so I can kind of see it all at once. So we'll declare some strict types. We'll remove that, make that final, drop all of that, model is user. We can then drop this. So the factory is going to make kind of email-based users, not social users. You'll have to do something slightly different for that. So this faker email, there we go. So we're just going to go for first name, last name, safe email. Yeah, we'll stick with that. Password. Let me move this down. I like things to be in order. Avatar. Yes, Omar. Thank you. That's what I was forgetting. Table string avatar nullable. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Are you picking up my tippity tap taps? Yeah, they're blue switches. I've got. Let's see if you can see it. I've got the. Oh, here we go. The split keyboard. Where's my camera pointing? Here we go. Split keyboard. My microphone's right in the way, so I do apologise if you can hear my keyboard. It is a little bit loud and obnoxious, but it's really nice to type on. When are we talking about Avatar? So, okay, now I get it. Right, focus time. I'm going to zoom in on the code and we're just going to get some of this done, right? Here's a code. So we want to get as much information about the user as possible. Yes, I'll be creating like a profile model where social things will be added, but we want to keep as much on the user as possible without bloating it. What I found is you either have a really thin user model and a really big profile model, or a really big user model without a profile model. I'm going to try and find the right balance there because I think it's useful. So email, password, yes, role. I'm going to manually define this still because I still think it needs to be in here. Provider. We're going to have a provider email. Perfect. If that isn't needed, then we're going to have the avatar is going to be this Baker image URL. We're just going to go for something simple like that. I'll add the provider ID as null because it's going to bug me that it's not there. Even those nullable things I like to add in because it feels like I'm not doing it properly if I don't. So there's the avatar. Access token is going to be null because we don't need it. A member token will be whatever that is. Timestamps, soft deletes, all that's good. I don't do it that way. That's not how I do things. So we'll remove that. That is my factory ready. Now to go to the user model and clean some stuff up. We will be enforcing some email verification. And we'll make this a final class, not a dino class, a final class. Do we need the first last name? Yes, we have to have that first name, last name. I hate it that it's not there by default. It really bugs me. Right, now use soft deletes, which means I need to add a new property over here for deleted at. There we go. Right, let's just clean up this before we get started. What did I do? Clicking buttons. Here we go. Right, delete that. Hidden, we'll delete that. Casts, we'll delete that. So we're just going to quickly paint it. So we're going to have first name, last name. In some countries, you need. Why do you need the name at all? Also, not everyone has a name, a last name. Ooh, I like that idea. I'm going to keep it, but the name portion is mainly going to be used for like maybe email communication, because on the profile you're going to have a username and that's what will be displayed. So first name, last name, email, password, role, provider ID, avatar, access token, member token, email verified at. So hidden, we are going to hide that provider ID. I don't know how best to do that, but we're just going to hide it by default. I don't know if it allows you to do much with it. Okay, so what we'll do as a compromise, we make last name nullable. So you add a first name or first name and last name, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean. What we didn't do, table, unique, email, and provider. I mean, we could add that provider ID as well, but the provider ID is going to be unique for the provider. So recovery key generation in case you use email for sign up. Ooh, interesting idea. Let's drop that suggest back in. Here is the link, A. There we go. That link is now in the chat. Feel free to use that. One provider per user. Yes, one provider per user. We don't want people to sign up with GitHub and then this and then that. Maybe I'll look at like some sort of merge. So, oh crap, I signed up with GitHub and Google's got a different email address to GitHub, but it's the same identity. Can we look at merging it? So it's that federated identity approach. I love federated identity. It's such a cool idea. Right, casts. What we're going to have is the access token is going to be encrypted because we don't want that to leak. Other casts that we have is the role is going to be an enum role, and the provider is going to be a provider. They're the only casts that we really need to care about right now. So that is the user model good to go, other than the doc blocks up the top. So string, first name, string for that last name, nullable string for that last name, property null string for password. I'm going to add a property role for the role. Provider null string for the provider ID. What's after the provider ID? Property null string for that avatar. Property null string for the access token. Property null string. Why my typing is just not good today? Remember token and property null carbon instance or carbon interface for that email verified at. Then we got created at, updated that, and deleted that. So that is all of that. That model is good to go. So what I can do here is sail artisan migrate. Our database is up and running. Next model, we want to make a model for the profile, and we want a migration and a factory. So let's just close everything down, and we want that create profiles table. So the first thing I like to do is add that foreign constraint to the user ID. I'm going to index it. Constraint and cascade. Because everything's going to link back to a profile. You get OCD over null X versus X null. I do null first. We are going to use Socialite. I just haven't installed it. Socialite. Let's just get that installed quickly. Right, so there we go. So we've got a profile, table, string, username, unique. So we got a unique username. And for now, I can't think too much what to add onto the profiles. I don't want to do any sort of like date of birth or anything like that. Yeah, Socialite handles the providers, but I create an enum of the approved providers that I then read from on the kind of linking aspect. For now, we're just going to keep it as like username and user ID. We'll expand upon that when we have some ideas. Cover photo. That could be a kind of cool idea. We'll just say cover, but we'll make that nullable. Yeah, we'll keep username and cover for now. So let's go to this profile factory. And what we need to do is the username is this. Actually, I'm not going to call it username. I'm going to call it handle. Handle makes a lot more sense, right? Your social handle. Baker. No, we want faker, unique, username. Cover, we're going to say this. Why do I always type D instead of F? Image URL. So that's the default sizes. So what we're going to do is say that our height is going to be something like 680 and our width is going to be 1280 or 1290. 1290 I typed, so that'll do. Sort those arguments quickly. And then the user ID is going to be user factory. So that is our profile ready. I really need a new chair. This keeps squeaking at me. I don't like it. Fillable. Right. So we've got a handle and we've got a cover and a user ID. A strange thing. Unique only applies with the same call. Yeah. Birthday, country, city, gender, all nullable. I might add those later. Maybe country. Country could be a cool one to add. Table, string, country. But we will make that nullable. And we will add in country onto here. Country, but we are going to use country codes. This Baker country code. There we go. Now onto profile. We don't have anything that's castable right now, so we're just going to come into here and say that the user this belongs to. Return this belongs to the related model is a user, and the foreign key is the user ID. So let's go fill in this up here. So property, string, handle. Then we've got property, null string for the cover, and property, null string for the country, property string for that user ID. So this leads me to my first one. We can access a user through the property. That is all there, all working as I would expect. So now I can come over to user and add its first relation. Public function profile has one. Return this has one related profile. The foreign key is user ID. Just like that. So then we can add a property profile for the profile there. So that's profile, that's user. That is pretty much good to go. So we can kind of migrate that as well. That is where we need it for now. Close all that down and come back to our browser and see what suggestions we got, if any. Nothing yet. Let me just go to my dashboard and see if anything's come up. I don't know if I need to like approve stuff. Dashboard, ideas, social network. No comments yet. That is cool. Right. So where were we? Over here, or was it on this? Aha. So likes, dislikes, comments, privacy controls. Where should we move next? I think let's try and understand the timeline a little bit, right? The feed. So when we are posting something, we either are posting something to a group or to the feed. So we kind of need, a post needs to have a group relation that is nullable. So we might need to make groups first. So let's start with that. I don't want to have like, can we make a feed? Can we make feed a group? What do you mean, Kat? What do you mean make feed a group? You've piqued my interest. What could this feed group be? How we get status quickly. Let's just add all this stuff. What were we doing? Creating profiles for user. So add a global setting to a group, and there is a shared group called feed. Oh, I like that idea. Any reason for using a separate profile table? Could keep it in the user model and extract logic to actions or services if you're worried about the model getting too fat. No, so I want everything to relate back to the profile. I think that user model should be slimmed down to authentication only. Then if you need more, then you want to look at extending beyond that and have something that you can kind of tag it onto. But Kat, I really like your idea there. There's a shared group called feed. So there's this default group that's always available called feed. And that is what you read from. Yeah, that would work best. I like that. Let's go make it. A make model group MF. Right, let's go start these groups. So groups have an owner. And in the case of the feed group, that would be the admin. Index constrained cascade. If the admin ever delete is removed, then everything's going to die, so it's fine. table string. The group has a name. Table string. We're going to have a description. We're going to limit to 160 characters for SEO purposes. Got a name, a description, table string. Group can have an avatar, which is nullable. The group can also have a cover image, which is nullable. Name, description, avatar, cover. A group could have, we're going to create a publishing in here. So the group can have a status, case, public group, case, private for a private group. So basically open or closed. A verified group. So like verified would be official groups. Anyone can join and invite only. So the difference between public and verified is that verified is created by, that would be like the feed group. And then other groups could then be kind of, I suppose, promoted to verified if they are popular and kind of need more moderation support. Public, private, and verified. Perfect. So let's add that. Table string status. The default will be status public. Are verified groups public or private? They are public, but they are public ones that are created by the system. So they are verified based on the source of who creates and owns it. So that only an admin can manage a verified group. So name, description, avatar, cover, status, who is managing that group. And I suppose we could have like table JSON tags that are nullable. So like you can tag your group so it's easier to find from a taxonomy perspective. That could be quite cool, quite useful. And so let's go fill out this factory. Let's put this over on this side. So we've got a group and our group has a name. This Baker, we're just going to call it, give it like a company name for now to make it easier. Description, this Baker, real text, and the max characters is 160. Avatar, we are going to say this Baker image URL. The cover, this Baker image URL, where the width is 1290 and the height is 680. Random sizes, I know. Status, so the default status is going to be public. So status public tags. Just going to add an empty array for now. Ugh. And then the user ID, we're just going to say user factory, like that. Member count. We can kind of we could probably assume that, but it might be nice to do some kind of event-driven approach. So table unsigned big integer members default 0. 9. No, 0, please. Right, members comes before tags. Start with 0. There we go. Should status be group status? I'm going to come back to that and figure it out. I can always refactor, right? The member count could be a dynamic MySQL column. It could be, but no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go through so with member counts, I'm going to use an event system. So we've got an activity log for admins and moderators to see and kind of maintain and manage. Make it a little bit clean and easier from a kind of management perspective. Also, user ID, which user does this refer to? So that would be an admin. So to create the system, you need a user, and the default groups like feed would be the owner would be the admin of the system. So name, description, avatar, cover, status, members, tags, and user. Right, filling in time. Name, description, avatar, cover, status, members, tags, and user ID. I always do a capital I. It's annoying. All right, then casting. We have got status, which is a status. We have got members, which is an integer. And we have tags, which we are going to use as a collection. And that is the only casting we need to do. So public function, the user that owns it. We are going to belong to a user. Turn this belongs to related user class. And the foreign key is user ID. Fill this part in. So property string for the name, property string for the description, nullable avatar, nullable cover, status, members, tags, and the user itself. So then we can say property user for the user. Admin user. No, I don't like adding those things. They really bug me. I mean, I could add a comment. Admin user ID. There we go. That adds all that. What I can do here is administrative user. There we go. Yeah, I like to stick to default and add comments where it makes sense, right? So groups have now been created and they have owners. Did I add that to the user? I haven't added it to the user. So public function owned groups have many. We have many. Return this has many related group, and the foreign key is the user ID. Again, capitalization. God damn it. Right, so we then have a property which is an eloquent collection of groups for owned groups. So you can see all your owned groups. I'm calling it that because we're going to have other things later on. So there's groups. We probably want to migrate that now. Sale, artisan, migrate. Group admin rather than group user. Yeah, I might refactor some things, but I'll come back to it. Git status, git add, git commit, creating groups, git push. And what we want to do is just come to this database seeder quickly, and we're going to get this ready to use so that we can log in and we know what is what. That's final. Let's remove this. And then we're going to create our first initial user. If you ever create a product or working on a project, I always find it useful to add yourself into something like this and just say, add you as the first user. So you've always got a login available. I just think it's easier. Google, email, just stevemcd@gmail.com. Let's go see what other fields we want to fill in. Let's just open up that user factory a minute. No, we don't need to because it does have a password. The password is fine. The provider and role. So role, I'm going to set myself as an admin. And the provider is going to be using email. Is there anything else I want to add? Avatar, maybe. Avatar. We're going to go github.com, just steveking.png. And for those who don't know, if you just go to github.com, your GitHub handle, and add like a .png, it will give you your GitHub avatar by default. So then we're going to create a profile for the user. We're going to create it where the handle is just Steve King. Let's go look at the profile. What else do we want to add? Not going to add a cover, but we will add a country. Country is going to be GB. So we've got a profile. Then we want group factory for my user. And we're going to create name, feed. Description is going to be the default news feed group. I don't think we need much else, really. I mean, we could add status, I guess. This will be a verified group, and that's all we need. We don't need tags or anything like that because it is just the default. So now we can go sale artisan, migrate fresh and seed. Done. We are good to go. Git status, git add. Default seeder. Let's push that up. Keep it simple, social network. Exactly. So there is the basics done. So next we'd want something like a So my wife's at Asda and apparently it's costing her a lot of money. Right, we want a posts next. So a make model post. We want to be able to post things using a social network. So table, foreign ULID. This is going to go to a group. Index, explained, cascade. It is going to belong to a profile. And if that profile is deleted, you remove it. So post is going to have table, text, content. Every post needs to have some level of content. And what we want is a way to kind of moderate this. Publishing status is for the group. So the post, we kind of need a post status, but I don't know if it's a status that we're going to call it. It's kind of like every post will go through like a workflow. It will go, it's submitted, it's moderated, and then it's either approved or rejected. So I'm going to call it stage. What stage is this post at? Naming things is hard, people. Naming things is hard. Case submitted. Case reviewing. Case approved. Approved and case rejected for whatever reason. So basically, they're the main stages that things can go through. Once you press post, it is then submitted. We can have something in the background, which then basically picks everything up that is submitted and updates it to reviewing, and then goes and reviews all of that. Then once that's been reviewed, it'll either be approved or rejected based on the outcome. So what stage is this post at? Default stage submitted by default. Simplify. Planned. So yeah, I'm not going to do scheduled posts right now. I might look at that later down the line. I don't think it's something that's needed out of the box. Maybe I'll have like a publish stat for now. Timestamp published at, which is nullable by default. So then once it's approved, it sets a published at. Stage updated at. Ooh, I like that idea. Timestamp stage updated at, which isn't nullable. That's a system one. That is a good idea, people. This is why I like to do these things on YouTube, because you people are smart. You make up for my lack of knowing what the hell is going on. So we're going to go for stage submitted by default. Content, we're just going to say this faker. We're going to go for some real text. The max characters that we're going to do, we're going to do something like 3,400. The index size was set to 4. I don't know what it does, but I do it anyway. The group ID is going to be group factory. The profile ID is going to be some random profile. stage updated at is going to be now. So I forgot to add stage. No, I didn't. Stage now. And published at is going to be null by default. So that is our post. So our fillable information is stage content. The group it belongs to, the profile it belongs to, when it was last updated by the system, and when it was published by the system. And that is all of that, which is cool. So property stage, property string for the content of the post, property string for the group ID, property string for the profile ID. Then we're going to have a null carbon interface. No, just a carbon interface actually. Carbon interface for the stage updated at, and a nullable carbon interface for the published at. Now this will have a group and a profile, and they are the two main ones there. So we can go through and let's add this quickly. Stage, what else have we got? Stage updated at, which is a timestamp. Oh no, a date time, sorry. Published at, which is also a date time. Which group does this belong to? We can return this belongs to the related model is a group, and the foreign key is group ID. Public function profile again belongs to return this belongs to related profile, and the foreign key is profile ID, not user ID. So I've added everything that I need there. So group has many posts. We can return this, have many related posts. The foreign ID is a group ID. So up here, we are going to have a collection property, posts, and that is done. Something didn't work here. There we go. Then profile, you have many posts as well. Here we can return this, have many, related is post, and the foreign key is profile ID. Come up and add this up here, property collection, the posts. So you've got lots and lots of stuffs. Close all of that, open up the database seeder. So we've got a group here, and we have a profile here. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a post factory for a group for a profile. And we're just going to do 25. Great. And all of them are going to be published. They're all approved at this stage, just so we can kind of work on pagination and the UI and stuff. And there we go. So we add, git commit all of this, and we're going to say posting stuff. Yes, posts are linked to profiles because the user is just that kind of thin, authenticatable thing that can access the system. That's my idea for it anyway. There's a little pattern that I like to do. And I think I've been going for about an hour, 20 minutes. I'm probably going to call it a day there, go make some coffee and go back to work. Otherwise, my boss will think that I've left. So I'm going to go finish doing some video recording. I may do some more of this tomorrow. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more. Otherwise, have a great day, great week, great however long it is till I next see you. Thank you for tuning in and take care. Bye-bye.